I was startled. The hand that had just been placed on the door handle also subconsciously retracted. After refreshing several times, I found that the rider's position had not changed. The map showed that the rider was still 0 meters away from me. I began to sweat coldly on my back. People who often order takeout know this. Generally speaking, after the rider delivers the food to the designated location and takes a photo as evidence, he will click to confirm the delivery as soon as possible and rush to the address of the next order. This is done to avoid overtime deductions. When the order is completed, the customer cannot see the rider's location. However, sometimes, some careless riders will forget this step. For example, now. But such a small move can expose his location. In other words, this rider is still outside my house. I held my breath and trembled as I approached the cat's eye. It was dark. There was no light outside and I couldn't see anything. I swallowed nervously. Perhaps because of the poor sound insulation, the voice-activated lights in our corridor are very sensitive. On weekdays, when I watch short videos in the living room at a louder volume, it will automatically light up. If the rider is really hiding at the door, he should make some noise. Since the sensor light is not on, there should be no one outside. I looked at the dark corridor and comforted myself that I must have thought too much. After waiting for a few minutes, there was still nothing unusual outside the door. I hesitated for a while. This is a relatively old community, and most of the residents have moved away. There are only a few families living in each building, and they are all elderly people with regular work and rest schedules who go to bed early in the morning. My only neighbor on this floor also went on a long-distance trip a few days ago. It is early morning now, and there is no one in the building. The whole building is quiet. Until my stomach growled first. Gurgle. I touched my hungry stomach and glanced at the screen of my mobile phone. The rider is currently 0 meters away from you. I frowned. In theory, there is no reason for the rider to stay at my doorstep. Could it be that the positioning system of the food delivery platform is broken? It is indeed possible. When I order food delivery, I always pay attention to the real-time location of the rider. Once, after the rider got the meal, he did not move and was always 3 kilometers away from me. At that time, I was still worried that he had encountered an accident. But when the other party knocked on the door and personally delivered the milk tea to me, I realized that there was a delay in the positioning displayed on the platform. Today, it is probably the same situation. Thinking of this, I took a deep breath. Slowly opened the door. The corridor was still quiet. The takeaway bag was the same as the one in the picture. It was placed on the open space about 1 meter away from my door. I looked around. After making sure that there were no suspicious people around, I stepped out quickly. But, the second I picked up the bag handle. Click. In the stairwell next to me, there was a sound of a camera shutter being pressed. The moment the flash was turned on, all the voice-activated lights in the corridor also lit up. Instantly, I was shocked and broke into a cold sweat. The next second, I turned around as fast as I could, entered the house, closed the door, and locked it. Because I was too anxious, I even got my finger caught in the gap of the door. Hiss. After entering the door, I squatted down in pain. There was already a faint trace of blood on my finger. I put my finger in my mouth and looked in the direction of the door. The fear in my heart did not diminish at all. I was very sure that I had not heard it wrong. Just now, there must be someone in the stairwell. Just as I was thinking about it, my phone vibrated. It was a message from the rider. "Miss, are you home?" Along with the message, there was also a photo. In the photo, I looked a little panicked from behind. From the angle of the photo, the other party was indeed the person in the stairwell just now. Seeing that I didn't reply, the rider continued to ask. "You said you were not at home, but how come a girl came out to get the takeaway?" My spirit became tense again. Along with the fear, there was also anger. What does it have to do with him whether I am at home or not? He is a rider, why is he pestering me here instead of rushing to deliver the next order? But I didn't want to continue to provoke him. I could only lie and try to deal with it casually. I was not at home, but my roommate was, and she helped me take it in first. I thought I could get rid of the rider in this way. Unexpectedly, he kept biting me. Your roommate? She looks good from the back. Can you introduce me to each other? I just need a girlfriend. Don't worry, I will definitely love her. When I saw this message, my scalp tingled instantly. No wonder this guy has been lingering around. So he had such a crooked idea. I have heard from others that some riders would chat up female customers and even harass them. Unexpectedly, I encountered this situation today. When I thought about him squatting in the dark for so long and holding up his phone to capture the moment when I took the takeaway, I felt sick. I know that for such a person, it is useless to refuse. He may even think that you are playing hard to get and playing with him. So I blocked him directly. But in this way, I can't check his location on the takeaway platform. I had no choice but to wait quietly for a while. After estimating that he should have left, I mustered up the courage and approached the door. Then, I held my breath and looked out through the cat's eye attentively. I felt my heart beating very fast. Sweat also dripped from my forehead. I lay on the door and observed for several minutes, but I didn't see anyone. Just when I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, a hideous face suddenly appeared in my sight. That face was smiling so frighteningly that his eye sockets looked almost bulging. The eye sockets were deep and dark, as if he was skinny. I was so scared that I trembled all over, took a few steps back, and sat down on the ground. I gasped for air. After calming down a little, I began to think about what to do next. I knew that the rider was at best harassing me and had not caused me any substantial harm. If I called the police directly, he could also argue that he just liked me. At most, he would be verbally educated. Maybe I would be charged with wasting police resources. After thinking about it, I called the community security guard, Brother Zhao. Unlike other community security guards who are seriously aging, Brother Zhao is less than 40 years old this year. I heard that he was laid off by a large factory a few years ago and came to do this. Fortunately, his income in the past was not low, and he was good at stock trading, so he had achieved financial freedom a long time ago. Now I come to work as a security guard just to find something to do and pass the time. As far as I know, Brother Zhao has the habit of exercising on weekdays. In addition, he is tall, with a strong back and strong waist. More importantly, he is willing to help others, and is simply a living lei feng in our neighborhood. Sure enough, after hearing my description of the situation, Brother Zhao agreed without hesitation. It's okay, sister, I'll go to your corridor to take a look. If that stinky boy is still there, I will drive him away. I want to see who dares to cause trouble in the community I manage. I am very grateful to Brother Zhao for his righteousness. From the scene in the cat's eye just now, I can vaguely see that the rider is a very thin man. Such a person should not be Brother Zhao's opponent. But to be safe, I still advised, Brother Zhao, you should bring some self-defense items, just find a stick. Hearing what I said, Brother Zhao laughed. Brother Zhao, what are you worried about with my physique? I've seen a lot of delivery men, they're all skinny, the kind I can knock down with one punch. Don't be afraid, girl, I'll be there right now. After hanging up the phone, I felt relieved. Next, I just had to wait for Brother Zhao to drive the rider away. Bad guys are always bullies. The rider knew that there was a girl living in the house, so he was so presumptuous. After he saw Brother Zhao's skills, he probably wouldn't dare to do it again. I waited patiently at home. Just then, there was a sound of footsteps in the corridor. Da-da, da-da, da-da. The footsteps were heavy, and I knew that the person coming was not heavy. I was happy. It was Brother Zhao who came. I lay on the door, not wanting to miss any sound. Brother Zhao was getting closer and closer to my floor. Just when the sound was very close to my floor, suddenly, the originally steady and orderly footsteps became chaotic. Next, there was a noise from the direction of the stairwell. It sounded like two people were fighting. My heart was in my throat. I subconsciously wanted to go out, but reason stopped me. Facing an adult male, I have no fighting power. If I go out rashly, I will only cause trouble for Brother Zhao. Thinking of this, I stopped. The sound of fighting lasted less than a minute before it stopped quietly. The entire residential building returned to a dead silence. My heart was pounding. But after waiting for a long time, there was no sound from outside. How is the writer? Has he been driven away by Brother Zhao? Time passed by minute. I became more and more nervous. Just when I was at a loss, Brother Zhao finally called me. I pressed the answer button tremblingly. Sister, it's okay. I met the writer in the stairwell and have subdued him now. I'm sorry, I waited for so long and made you worry. Hearing Brother Zhao's words, I cried with joy. The fear that had been pressing on me for a long time was finally relieved. Thank you, Brother Zhao. I'll treat you another day. Hey, you don't have to spend money. Brother Zhao interrupted me. Well, after my criticism and education just now, this brat has realized his mistake. He said that he has been single for too long and couldn't help liking girls when he saw them, so he made a mistake on impulse. I think his tone is quite sincere, and he is also a hardworking person. How about this? I will bring him to your house and let him apologize to you in person, and the matter will be over. This. I hesitated and spoke. Brother Zhao's words clearly seemed to be a peacemaker. I just experienced a roller coaster mood. Naturally, I didn't want to see the culprit. But Brother Zhao just helped me a lot. Since he asked, I couldn't refuse. So, I had to agree. Okay, then I'll wait for you at home. Da-da, da-da, da-da. Not long after, footsteps were heard again in the corridor. I was about to open the door, but suddenly realized something was wrong. Brother Zhao clearly said that he came up with a writer. But I only heard one person's footsteps. Moreover, this footstep was heavier than the one I just heard. Could it be that the person coming was not Brother Zhao and the writer, but someone else? Just as I was wondering, the footsteps stopped at my door. Dong, dong, dong. The door was knocked. I looked out through the peephole. It was indeed Brother Zhao who was standing outside knocking on the door. But his expression was not very good. Brother Zhao's face was tightly pressed against the peephole, almost occupying the entire visible range of the peephole. I couldn't see other places in the corridor. His eyes turned left and right, and he seemed very agitated. The color of his lips was even brighter red. It looked like he had applied some bright red lipstick. Dong, dong, dong. The door was knocked again. Brother Zhao seemed very anxious. He opened his mouth, as if he was about to say something. But after his lips opened and closed, no sound came out except for the sticky saliva hanging on them. I felt even more uneasy. At this time, the phone rang again. I picked up the phone and found that it was Brother Zhao who called. Strange. Brother Zhao was clearly outside my house. Why didn't he speak directly, but called me instead? My intuition made me not open the door immediately, but stared at Brother Zhao's face. This face that made me feel at ease in the past. Now, it looks particularly strange. Suddenly, I found something wrong. A small and very thin stream of scarlet was crawling along Brother Zhao's lip lines. The red on Brother Zhao's lips was not lipstick or other foreign matter at all. It was the color of blood. Between his upper and lower teeth, there was a mouthful of blood. After realizing this, I almost screamed. Soon, as if to confirm my guess, Brother Zhao's expression changed from anxiety to extreme fear and despair. A stream of blood flowed down the corner of his mouth. The next second, his neck broke straight down like a dead branch. And the terrified face also fell backwards. Bang! The sound of the head falling to the ground was particularly harsh in the dark night. I was almost crazy and turned around and ran. After running to the innermost bedroom, I leaned against the wall and tried to calm down. But my weak legs kept trembling and could not support my body at all. I slid down to my knees and sat down, tears flowing like a spring. Brother Zhao is dead. I killed him. If I had called the police immediately from the beginning, Brother Zhao would not have died. Thinking of this, I immediately took out my mobile phone with trembling and called the police. The operator was a gentle female police officer. I was so scared that I couldn't speak clearly. It took a long time to barely explain my situation and address. I have understood your situation. We will send police officers to go there as soon as possible. Please don't be afraid and stay calm. Don't go out before the police arrive. The female police on the phone comforted me and patiently told me. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't calm down for a long time. But before I could calm down for long, there was another strange noise in the living room. Bang! 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 I opened my bedroom door slightly, but I saw a scene that made my scalp numb. I saw a sharp axe slashing in from the outside. The tip of the axe was shining coldly, and there was a large amount of blood around it. It was raised high and then fell heavily. Bang! A hole appeared on the door of my house. Through the hole, I saw half of the rider's face. Come out and play, don't be afraid. Be my girlfriend, I will love you well. You don't agree, do you look down on me as a delivery man? The writer's weird voice came. I was scared to death, and quickly closed the bedroom door and locked it. But I knew that it was useless. Since the writer could split the door of my house, he would naturally not be stopped by the bedroom door. It was only a matter of time before he broke into the bedroom. Although the police told me not to leave the house before they arrived. But I had to be more flexible. If this goes on, I will definitely die. I must escape. What should I do? If this is the first or second floor, I would dare to take a gamble and jump out of the window directly. But my house is on the 6th floor. If I jump off the building like this, I will only die. I looked out the window. Got it. I suddenly remembered that there was an auntie who was about 40 or 50 years old living downstairs from my house. I think her last name was Lee. On weekdays, everyone called her Aunt Lee. Aunt Lee liked to grow some flowers and plants the most. In order to let these flowers and plants get enough light, she also deliberately removed the anti-theft net on the bedroom window and made a small platform to place those plants. I opened the window and looked out. Sure enough, I saw the platform. I was happy. The area of the platform was about half a square meter, enough for me to stand. Although the load-bearing capacity was not strong, fortunately I was very light and should be able to stand. Bang! 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 The noise in the living room continued. I knew that I had no time to hesitate, so I made up my mind, opened the window, and flipped out. I then realized that it was drizzling outside. It was at this moment that I realized how terrifying the height of the 6th floor was. If I fell from here, I would definitely die. I held on to the edge of the window with both hands, gritted my teeth, and slowly lowered my whole body. Lower, lower, and lower. Finally, my feet reached the shelf. The moment my feet landed, I almost cried with excitement. I stood on the platform and tried to open the window of Aunt Lee's house. The next second. Boom! Lightning illuminated the night. I then realized. There was a living person in the room, standing upright in front of the window. I was so scared that I almost fell backwards and was about to fall down. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and grabbed the window frame in front of me. I breathed a sigh of relief. Little girl, you don't sleep in the middle of the night, are you going to be a thief? A sharp female voice drilled into my ears. The window in front of me was opened. Only then did I see that the person in the room was none other than Aunt Lee. I breathed a sigh of relief, then I ignored Aunt Lee's shouts and rolled into the house. What are you doing, little girl? Aunt Lee was so angry when she saw me climbing through the window and entering the house. I quickly covered her mouth. Aunt Lee, don't make a sound. I signaled Aunt Lee with an anxious look. I let her go only after she calmed down completely. Aunt Lee glared at me fiercely. I could understand her feelings. I didn't sleep in the middle of the night, climbed onto the bedroom platform, and entered the house. No matter how you look at it, I look like a burglar. So, I immediately briefly told Aunt Lee the whole story. But after hearing what I said, Aunt Lee obviously didn't believe it completely. Are you saying that a murderer wants to enter your house to kill you? Aunt Lee stared at me suspiciously. I nodded repeatedly and took her hand. Run, Aunt Lee, we can only be safe if we run out of this building. Since I can get in through the window, the writer can do it too. But Aunt Lee didn't move. She spoke hoarsely and gloomily, little girl, do you think I can walk? I only realized it when I heard this. Aunt Lee's right hand was actually on a crutch, her right leg was wrapped in a bandage and looked seriously injured. Just now, I was too nervous to notice this. Aunt Lee, you are. I said tentatively. Aunt Lee snorted. I'm old, useless, and my bones are brittle. I fell last month and broke my bones. After saying that, she sat down on the bed, tilted her head and stopped looking at me. My heart sank completely. There is no elevator in our community. Aunt Lee can't escape in a short time with such a leg. But if I leave Aunt Lee alone, that would be too heartless. I ran to Aunt Lee's house to escape, and she had no choice but to passively take on this risk with me. I looked at Aunt Lee sitting by the bed. My sense of morality and rationality were in a duel. In the end, I chose to wait for the police at home with Aunt Lee. As soon as I made this decision in my heart, Aunt Lee came over and asked me mysteriously. Little girl, what do you do? I see you rarely go out. Don't you go to work? I looked helpless. Old people are old people. At this time, they are still asking these questions. I had no choice but to answer truthfully. I am a full-time writer, so I don't have to go to work. Is that so? Aunt Lee looked at me meaningfully, as if she had something else to ask. My heart was in a mess, and I didn't want to listen to her talk about these family matters at all, so I quickly took the initiative to change the topic. Aunt Lee, do you have anything at home that can be used for self-defense? For example, a kitchen knife. I'll take it out first, just in case I go up against that murderer, I can have a better chance of winning. Aunt Lee seemed very dissatisfied with my performance. However, she still pointed in a direction of the house and said, if you want a kitchen knife, there is one in the kitchen. I thanked her and turned to the kitchen. After arriving in the kitchen, I saw a rusty kitchen knife in the sink. I picked up the kitchen knife without hesitation. But what I never expected was that under the kitchen knife, in the sink drain, there was a bloody human hand. I screamed subconsciously. My hand slipped and the kitchen knife fell to the ground. Could it be? What kind of model is this? Am I seeing it wrong? No. I stared at the sink. That's a human hand. A human right hand. What's going on? How could there be a human hand in Aunt Lee's house? Just as I was brainstorming quickly, a gloomy voice came from behind me. Son, take care of her here. I looked back. Aunt Lee had thrown away her crutches and was standing there. And beside her was the writer who delivered my takeaway. At this moment, the two of them were staring at me with ill intentions. Look, she's still in a daze. The sinister smile on Aunt Lee's face at this moment was surprisingly similar to that of the writer. So, the writer was Aunt Lee's son? Before I could react, the writer had already rushed over. I screamed. Fortunately, because the writer was holding an axe, his movements were limited, and I dodged it by leaning sideways. I pushed Aunt Lee away and ran away. The moment Aunt Lee fell to the ground, she desperately grabbed my hair. Stinky bitch, don't run. I was so painful that I cried when Aunt Lee grabbed me. The next second, I made up my mind. I broke free from Aunt Lee with a force. After leaving Aunt Lee's house, I rushed to the stairwell and ran downstairs as fast as I could. My face and body were completely soaked. I couldn't tell whether it was rain, sweat, or tears. I wiped my forehead. I had no grudges against Aunt Lee and her son. Why did they want to hurt me? Whose hand was that in Aunt Lee's kitchen? Was it Brother Zhao? My mind was in a mess. I knew I couldn't figure these things out at all, so I could only escape from this building as soon as possible. But I ran for a long time but still didn't see the hall. This is wrong. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and shone it on the wall of the stairwell. I saw a number written on the floor sign there. 5. I'm still on the 5th floor. Why am I still on the 5th floor after running for so long? At this moment, my last bit of faith completely collapsed. The next second, the voices of the Ryder and Aunt Lee came from behind. Don't run, come and be my girlfriend. Stinky bitch, who are you looking down on? Is being my daughter-in-law wronged you? You really don't know what's good for you. You little girl, you don't have a proper job, but you're so proud. I ignored what they said, because I didn't even have time to collapse. I could only keep running down. Although I couldn't figure out everything tonight. But I knew that if I stopped, I would die. Da-da, da-da, da-da. The Ryder and Aunt Lee's footsteps were neither fast nor slow. They seemed to be walking very casually, but even with such a casual pace, they were getting closer and closer to me. I dared not neglect it. Even though my leg muscles were swollen and sore, and even though there was a taste of blood in my mouth, I could only continue to run down with my will. Suddenly, I stumbled and fell down the stairs. I held my legs and tried several times, but found that I couldn't stand up at all. Maybe the muscles were completely torn. Aunt Lee and the Ryder had caught up with me. They were standing at the stairs about 2 meters away from me. I wanted to use my last strength to buy myself a little more time. Don't touch me, I've called the police, and the police will be here soon. I shouted at them. Unexpectedly, the two heard what I said and laughed instead of being afraid. Ha 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 ha. The police? If the police could come, they would have come long ago. They looked at me mockingly, as if they were looking at a fool. I was stunned. That's right, it had been 20 minutes since I called the police. Why haven't the police arrived yet? Moreover, several of us were shouting and arguing in the corridor, making a lot of noise. Why didn't anyone hear it in this residential building? Plus the stairs that never end. A chill rose in my heart. Are the two people in front of me human or ghost? What's going on? I roared. But they didn't want to explain to me at all. The Ryder came at me again with an axe in hand. This time I couldn't dodge it. I closed my eyes in despair. But at this moment, a figure rushed over and blocked me. Run, run! Brother Zhao shouted. I was so scared that I stood there, at a loss. Isn't Brother Zhao dead? He was killed by the Ryder, with a lot of blood and his head cut off. I saw it with my own eyes. Brother Zhao seemed to see what I was thinking. He held down the Ryder who was struggling desperately, kicked away Aunt Lee who came to help, and then shouted at me, no time to explain, don't hesitate, run. Only now can you run out. I noticed that Brother Zhao's entire right palm was gone. Could it be that Brother Zhao only had his right hand chopped off, but he didn't die? Everything tonight was too weird. I didn't dare to think about the details. But since Brother Zhao asked me to run, I couldn't waste time. Strangely, my leg, which was still in pain just now, is now completely healed. I quickly stood up and ran downstairs. Behind me was Brother Zhao's scream. Tears had wet my face. But this time I didn't encounter any weird floors. Soon, I ran to the lobby of the first floor unit. A police car was parked outside the lobby. It's the police. The police are coming. I rushed forward in ecstasy. The second I ran out of the door of the unit, I instantly lost consciousness. I opened my eyes and found myself lying in the ward. The people in front of the bed were all my family and friends. In addition, there was a police sister who looked very gentle. The closest to me were my parents. When I saw them, I cried with joy. Great, I'm saved. Then, I quickly grabbed my mother's sleeve and asked. Where's Brother Zhao? Is he okay? Is he in this hospital too? He's dead. Mom's eyes were full of tears. Dead? My hand slid down, and I murmured unconsciously, Brother Zhao died to save me. I survived, but he died. No, Xiaoyu. My father interrupted me. Actually, you're dead too. I'm dead? What does that mean? I was anxious. Xiaoyu, do you really not remember? Everyone looked at me with concern. I suddenly felt a headache. I covered my head, but the pain didn't subside at all. A flood of memories came to me. I finally remembered everything. It turns out that Aunt Li and her son, and brother Zhao are neighbors living in the same building. I live on the 6th floor, Aunt Li and her son live on the 5th floor, and brother Zhao lives on the 7th floor. Aunt Li's son Yang Chao has no education or skills. He had a criminal record for provoking trouble in his early years, so he can't get a job and can only make a living by delivering food. Brother Zhao is young and promising. He works in a well-known company and has a high income. By coincidence, Yang Chao received my food delivery order. He fell in love with me at first sight and wanted me to be his girlfriend. Even though I clearly rejected him, he relied on the condition of living in the same building to harass me from time to time. I was miserable. One time, when Yang Chao was arguing with me at the door of my house, he was caught by brother Zhao. Brother Zhao, who is enthusiastic and full of justice, learned about the situation and scolded and drove Yang Chao away on the spot. Yang Chao, who was jealous of brother Zhao's high income, was even more resentful because of this incident. When brother Zhao was 35 years old, he was laid off. Because of the arbitration with his former company, he was almost banned from the industry. To make matters worse, the savings he had accumulated from his earlier work also evaporated completely due to unfavorable stock market investments. With nowhere else to go, he could only choose to be a security guard in the community. Since then, Yang Chao has been sneering at brother Zhao every time he sees him. Brother Zhao was already disheartened, and after being stimulated many times, he decided to end his life. On the day he jumped from the building, I happened to be hanging clothes in front of the window. Brother Zhao jumped from the 7th floor, and I grabbed his shirt and tried to pull him up. But I was too weak and I lost my strength after a short while. I watched brother Zhao fall to the ground, bloody and mangled. This incident left a big shadow on me. I always felt that I was responsible for brother Zhao's death, and even suffered from severe depression. But Aunt Li and Yang Chao did not let me go. Yang Chao hated being rejected by me, and together with Aunt Li, he spread rumors that I had an affair with brother Zhao, saying that I was brother Zhao's mistress. They also said that if we were not lovers, why would I be so sad after brother Zhao died? They had a grasp of the public's psychology, and knowing that there was no evidence to prove brother Zhao's death, they spread all kinds of filthy rumors. Too, because of the nature of my job, I rarely go out, and many residents think I don't have a job. Therefore, I believed Aunt Li and Yang Chao's words. Later, even if I went downstairs to throw away the garbage, someone would point at me and call me a shameless mistress. I was already severely depressed, and finally couldn't stand this pressure, and made the same choice as brother Zhao. I stared at everyone blankly. So, you asked the master to help my soul transcend? My mother nodded with tears. I was silent. No wonder, brother Zhao in my dream was killed by the writer, but he came back to life and tried his best to save me. Maybe the master wanted me to understand. The death of brother Zhao was the crime committed by Aunt Li and her son, not my fault. If brother Zhao is still alive, he will definitely not blame me. Unconsciously, 2 lines of tears flowed from the corners of my eyes. The next second, I felt my body was much lighter. I looked down. Although my body was still lying on the bed, my soul was already floating in the air. My family and friends all looked up at me. I was a little anxious, because I couldn't ask the last question. I tried to open my mouth, but found that I couldn't make a sound. I quickly looked at the female police officer next to me. Her face showed an expression of reluctance. Fortunately, she understood what I meant. Don't worry, we have arrested Li Lianxiang and Yang Chao on the charge of incitement. I promise you that they will definitely get the punishment they deserve. I hope your soul in heaven can be comforted, and I wish you happiness in your next life. Her voice was very gentle. Just like the female police officer who was the operator in my dream. I smiled and waved to the people below. Then, I closed my eyes, until I felt my spirit slowly dissipating in this world. The end.